So I actually think 250 may be a little bit light.
Hey, what is up guys? Long time no see. Sorry guys, I have been busy lately. But Bitcoin does not sleep. Its price has been fluctuating sideways for quite some time. It seems to be boring. In this video I will explain why this consolidation may be good for Bitcoin, and we will take a close look at Tim Draper's Bitcoin's $250,000 price prediction. Like always, let's take a look at this boring Bitcoin market. Around 2 weeks ago, Bitcoin dropped from mid $8,000 to below $7,000. Since then, it has been more or less consistent with those price ranges. It seems like Bitcoin lost steam. There is no excitement, and there is no fear of missing out. But guess what? This is just how I like it. This could be one of the best times to accumulate more Bitcoin. Just like once Warren Buffett said, be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. This quote I like very much, but there is some misconception about this quote. Recently I seen many comments under my video that are saying, just do the opposite what everybody else is doing and you will be fine. Well, I would definitely not recommend that. You have to do the opposite only if you have strong conviction that you are right and everybody else is wrong. You may apply that quote to the current Bitcoin price. Yes, there seems to be no excitement in the market. Some investors are getting hesitated and skeptic about the future of Bitcoin. Does this mean that you should buy in? Well, not really. You should buy only when price is cheap and only if you have a strong conviction and you believe that Bitcoin has a future. And you also have to know why you are right while everybody else is wrong. However, you do not have to be 100% convinced that you are right while everyone else is wrong. I would actually argue that 70% to 80% is actually way better than 100%. Here is why. As Mark Twain once said, it's not what you do not know gets you in trouble, it's what you know for sure that it ain't so. Which means that if we believe that we are 100% correct, we become biased towards our own beliefs, and we become our own enemy. That being said, if you're convinced that Bitcoin has a future just like I do, but you still have some doubts, then you are on the right track. That being said, I would not recommend to have the entire your portfolio only in Bitcoin. Bitcoin should be just a portion of your portfolio, just like other asset classes. This video is brought to you by DueDex. DueDex is reliable and user-friendly cryptocurrency exchange with up to 100x leverage swaps. It has one of the lowest transaction fees in the industry. The most important thing for me is there is no KYC requirements, which means they won't send your data to IRS. If you are interested, use the link in the description box below, sign up and receive your $10 registration bonus and up to $70 trading bonus. Anyways, what was I supposed to talk about? Oh, that's right, Draper's Bitcoin price prediction, who predicts Bitcoin and believes it will reach $250,000 by 2023, which is essentially 3 years away. Let's take a look what Draper had to say about his prediction.
You've also got a prediction of around $250,000 for Bitcoin in 2023. How are you feeling about that prediction right now?
Oh, it's right on track. I'm actually really excited because I kind of expected things to drop some while the excitement waned. But then as engineers and entrepreneurs are building more and more of an infrastructure around Bitcoin, it looks like it's gonna happen. In fact, what I didn't realize was that so many of the cryptocurrencies would be sort of marginalized, where they would lose their backing or the entrepreneur who is driving them, and that consolidates more of that activity around Bitcoin. So I actually think 250 may be a little bit light. It may actually be more like 2023, like the beginning of 2023. But all systems seem to be go for a real Bitcoin. A lot of excitement around Bitcoin.
He said that Bitcoin $250,000 is even a bit light. Well, that could be true. However, from the current $7,400 all the way to $250,000, that would be more than 33 times of the current price of the Bitcoin. 33 baggers sounds fantastic. I could buy the entire damn house for 2 Bitcoins if BTC would appreciate that much. But of course I would not go there. I do not want that liability. Considering the fact that we are approaching third halving next year, let's see what Tim Draper had to say about halving.
Tim, building on that, we've got a halving coming up in May. What do you think, how are you seeing this affecting price, and how are you seeing this affecting the market right now?
Well, I can just tell you what it's done to price each time in the past. It's created a quantum jump in the price, but there's a lag. So the halving happens and nothing really happens to the price for a while. And then people realize that, the mining it's going to take to get to a Bitcoin is going to be harder. And so it's got to be worth more to keep the mining going. But then I don't know what it is that drives it well beyond that, because if you do the math on the halving, you end up somewhere around my $250,000 prediction at about the same time. So it's really interesting how those two things have come together. My prediction was really based on creating enough of an infrastructure to bring Bitcoin to a 5% market share around the world as a currency. Well, the halving, if you kind of run the numbers on the halving, it comes up about the same time at about the same price. So I was sort of excited to see that. And it's just, God, Satoshi, way to go, man. This was, what you came up with is so extraordinary. Reason that the halving makes so much sense is that what Satoshi really came up with was something to counter the effects of Moore's law, where a mining rig, $1,000 worth of compute power doubles every 18 months. Now it's actually more like every 14 months. And so when you say that the mining will become consolidated, I'm not so sure that's true, because new miners can come in with new machines and they can compete with the big, Bitmains of the world. And that will continue to happen. And the halving is just a way of counteracting Moore's law on mining equipment. So I think it actually, it all sort of shakes out. I do know that mining is going to be a cyclical business. It's going to come, it's going to go, it's going to come back, it's going to go, it's going to get bigger, it's going to get smaller. All of those things are going to happen over time. But overall, miners are going to make money, a lot of money.
What do you think, I guess you talked about that, you're not worried about the centralization of mining, and obviously with Moore's law, it's flattened out a lot over time now. It's become, it's not as quick, which is interesting in and of itself. Potentially there are other technology that could come in, but let's remove that for a second. A lot of people talk about this centralization. Do you think there will be centralization, big mining operations in mining in the future, or do you think that this, the hobbyist will still be able to join and keep this decentralized nature of Bitcoin?
Well, I think the hobbyist who buys their equipment at the right time can certainly benefit and become a successful miner. I think, sure, some of it will become centralized, but I think that there will always be competition for that mining, even as mining becomes much more professionalized and certain groups will have a bigger and bigger share of it. I think that will be counteracted by new equipment, and that's already happening. The new Antminer is bringing in a ton of new miners. They're saying, "Hey, look what I can do." Before the halving, I can make a whole bunch of money, and after the halving, really just depends on what happens to the price.
Okay. Now, Let's move on from that. I think, it's exciting times. It's going to play out. Bitcoin hash rate's obviously moving around, slightly down right now as well.
Hey, one more thing about mining. It might be that, a lot of the reason that the whole world doesn't mine is that it has been harder to do. You need to buy the equipment. Usually there's some code you have to write for it. It's complicated. Well, I think that might, some entrepreneur might simplify that and create an app that just says, here, start mining now, and I want you to mine this and this. Or even AI does all the mining for them, and they say, okay, I want this much Bitcoin, this much Tezos, this much Ethereum, and use the AI to figure out which one and when. I think mining actually could be, in fact, mining could also be where the profit is built in based on the current price of any coin. So people would know exactly what they were going to make in buying a miner. So I think there is businesses and technologies and engineers, they all evolve. And that evolution can only help us. And this new decentralized world is a part of our, this whole human evolution. So I think when people panic about one thing or another, what they're missing is that entrepreneurs will come in to solve those problems. And that is what makes our business so good, the venture business. And it makes a really great horse race for all those entrepreneurs out there.
Yes, after halving, Bitcoin reward for miners will drop in half, which means miners will receive half the reward they are currently getting. However, the price of any commodity tends to gravitate towards the production cost. So if currently an average production cost per BTC is $6,000, then I would not be surprised if BTC drops to $6,000. However, in 2020, the cost of production will be as twice expensive, which theoretically the price should be at least as twice higher. Let's take a quick look at how many Bitcoins Tim Draper has and if he's still buying more.
And I think this leads me on to, you made a very bold purchase of 30,000 Bitcoin from the US Marshal in 2014. And I have to ask, in that moment, what were the pros and cons that you were thinking through? What was the investment principles that you made or thought through to make a decision like that?
Partly I was trying to make up for all the 40,000 Bitcoin that I lost to the Mt. Gox guys. They seem to have disappeared my money. But what happened was when Mt. Gox fell and took the money or did whatever they did, I thought that was the end of Bitcoin, and Bitcoin was going to be, just another also ran. But Bitcoin only dropped about 10 or 15% on the news. And I thought, whoa, hey, people really need this. This is going to be a very important part of our economy, because I didn't really understand why. I was thinking, why isn't this zero? Why didn't Bitcoin go to zero? Well, it's because there are so many great uses of Bitcoin that you can't use dollars for. Micropayments, remittances, paying employees overseas, buying things from somebody who doesn't have a bank account, banking the unbanked. There's so many interesting applications that came to light when I started really looking into it. And I looked into it because of that weird situation where I thought, wait, if the biggest exchange in Bitcoin goes out of business, how could this continue to be successful? Well, it's because people really needed it. And I got so excited about it, I started buying. I bought all the way up. And when that Marshal's office, the U.S. Marshal's office came with the auction, I looked and I thought, all my friends here are looking at this as a way to get a discount on a lot of Bitcoin. And I thought, well, if it goes well, it's going to be worth so much more than this. And if it goes badly, it's going to go badly. So I decided that I would pay a little over market. And then I thought, well, I'll maybe get one or two of the lots. There were 9 lots. I got all 9 lots. So I got more than I wanted. So it was partly bold, but partly just like, hey, you bid above market, you get the whole thing. And it's like winning the art auction. You realize you paid more than anybody else would. But it turns out that was prescient. Boy, that was the best, probably the best currency deal anybody's ever done. Oh no, I paid 19 million for it.
19 million, right? Makes sense. And
Yeah.
then, and I just wonder, I do ask, I want to understand something. Are you still buying Bitcoin? Like, are you still buying more?
Yeah, in some ways. I'm buying it because I still take Bitcoin for tuition at Draper University. I still take Bitcoin for rent at Hero City. I have taken crypto in my funds. It's a little complicated, but we figured out how I could take crypto in my funds. Because there's some tax things and some other
Sure.
problems that can come up. So I guess, yeah, I keep adding to my position that way.
Interesting.
I did buy more when Bitcoin went down from the auction price. And then I put that to work in a bunch of the Boost startups that were doing Bitcoin. And some of those have worked out and some haven't. Bitcoin, I invested in those companies when Bitcoin was way down, like 180 or something. And so if they held some of it, they did really well.
Draper bought 30,000 Bitcoin in 2014 at around $630 a coin, which cost him almost 19 million bucks. I bet he must be very happy man about his investment at the current date. From $630 a coin all the way to the current price of over $7,400, that would be 12x return on his investment, which means his $19 million stake is now worth over $228 million, $250 million bucks. Awesome. Tim, what do you think about the future of crypto space?
I think that is coming. It's going to go through. We're going to see turmoil on the way. You're going to see high volatility in the prices of these various cryptocurrencies, but long term, you're going to see a few major winners. I mean, the currency business today is 86 trillion. If you add crypto in 10 years from now, I think it's going to be $120 trillion. $120 trillion. That is a huge market. I mean, how many zeros is that? It's a lot, like 16, 17 zeros. That means you can create like, that's a $170 trillion. That's 1,700 $100 billion businesses. That is a huge opportunity. We are going after something that is absolutely enormous, and it's going to change things. People are going to be for it, against it, whatever. All sorts of things are going to happen, but technology ultimately wins all the wars. This technology is going to be a major part of what's going to happen and how we're all going to be decentralized. And I think it's going to be a much more peaceful and loving world when this all settles out. But for now, all the governments are sort of creating stresses where there really aren't stresses in order to justify their own existence. The best governments are saying, I'm embracing this new technology. I'm going to make it a part of our culture. It's going to help us grow our long-term economy. Things are going to go very well here. Some governments are trying to, U.S. is trying to walk a very fine line there. Some governments are trying to keep it the way it was. Some governments are trying to create stable coins so that they kind of feel like they're still doing the crypto thing, but they're missing like the biggest feature of crypto, which is that it is decentralized and open and borderless. But it's progress and it's moving forward. Things are going to be good. They're going to be really tough for another 3 or 4 years, and then it's going to be really great.
He definitely thinks that the future is bright. Let me know, what do you guys think about 250k price prediction? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, hit that like button and subscribe.